All right, let's talk about something really, really tough. We're going to break down how to have one of the most vulnerable, most challenging conversations you can possibly have in a relationship, sharing a desire that feels completely impossible to even say out loud. So, how do we even begin to tackle this? Well, we've broken it down into a 5-step guide. Think of it as a roadmap for this journey into radical honesty, from all the prep work you need to do, all the way to what a successful outcome actually means. Okay, first things first, we've got to talk about the fear, the thing that makes this whole conversation feel, well, impossible. And it's a fear that's really rooted in one single powerful question. This question right here, this stops so many people dead in their tracks. It comes from this deep-seated fear of being judged, of being rejected, and of, maybe doing permanent damage to the relationship you've built. The stakes just feel unbelievably high. But here's the thing, and this is so important. On the other side of all that fear isn't just risk. It's the potential for a connection that's profoundly stronger, more honest, and way more intimate. This talk isn't just about a specific desire, it's really about transforming the way you two communicate. So, how do you even get ready for something like that? Well, before you even think about saying a word, you need to have absolute clarity in your own mind. And that starts with some really crucial self-reflection. The very first critical step is to figure out if what you're feeling is a fantasy or a need. See, a fantasy can be incredibly powerful in your imagination, but it doesn't necessarily have to become real. A need, on the other hand, feels like it's part of who you are. And figuring out which one it is, that's going to dramatically shape this entire conversation. So, to help you get that clarity, here are 5 questions you absolutely have to ask yourself. Answering these honestly forces you to really understand your own desire before you try to explain it to somebody else. What exactly turns you on? And just as important, what are you truly prepared to hear in response? And this brings us to a final check-in. You have to take a hard, honest look at your relationship's foundation and ask if it's strong enough for this kind of vulnerable talk. If you're already feeling disconnected or you tend to avoid problems, then the timing and care you take here become even more critical. Okay, so you've done the internal work. Now let's get into the conversation itself. And remember, the first 60 seconds, how you open this thing, will set the tone for everything that comes after. And you absolutely have to avoid starting with anything that sounds like an accusation, an ultimatum, or a demand. These phrases you see here, they're like instant conversation killers. They'll put your partner on the defensive immediately and just shut down any chance of a real dialogue. Instead, you want to lead with reassurance and vulnerability. Frame this whole thing as an act of trust, a desire to be closer and more intimate, not a complaint. You're essentially inviting them into a very private part of your world. A really powerful tool here is the I statement. Using I statements lets you express what you're feeling without making your partner feel criticized or pressured. It centers your experience and invites them to understand it, not to defend themselves against it. So once you've shared your desire, the conversation totally shifts. Your main job now is to just listen and validate her response, whatever it might be. And you should probably expect her first reaction to come from a place of insecurity. A really common and totally valid fear is that your desire for something new is somehow a reflection on her own desirability. Her mind might also immediately jump to infidelity. Is this a confession about something that's already happened or a wish for something that might happen? It's a natural question when the security of the relationship feels threatened. And she will absolutely 100% need to know if this is a request or a demand. Her ability to say no without fearing that you'll be angry or resentful is probably the most critical part of this whole exchange. So ultimately, it doesn't matter if she's hurt, angry, confused, or even curious. Her reaction is valid. Your job in that moment is to stop talking, create space, and just listen. And I mean listen to understand, not to come up with a defense. This brings us to our final and maybe most important section. We have to redefine success. Because the true goal of having this conversation, it isn't what you probably think it is. See, this isn't about winning a negotiation or just getting a yes. The real victory here is the transformation of your relationship through radical honesty. It's about feeling completely known and accepted by your partner, no matter what the outcome is. This is what real success looks like. It's when you both can walk away from this talk feeling more connected, more understood, and with this new foundation of trust that's going to help you with all the difficult conversations in the future, not just this one. Ultimately, this whole process isn't really just about a fantasy. It's a choice. It's a choice to stop hiding and to risk being truly seen by the person who matters most to you. And that commitment to being real, that courage to be fully known, that's a victory all by itself.